name is Aaron Frazer. Uh, I think of myself as a drummer. These days, a lot of people think of me as a singer. But I make music and I help others do the same.
Do you think of yourself as a singer?
Now I do. Now I do. It's taken a while, you
Yeah.
know, but it was never something that I had like really intended to do. So it took a lot longer. And whereas drumming is something that I had done since I was 9 years old. So
Mm.
a very new development became something how a lot of people see me. So it kind of took a second to like adjust.
How how did that journey start for you? Like you into drumming and then all of a sudden discovering that you have a voice and a beautiful voice at that.
Thank you. I mean, I I love I've loved singing. But I've always I felt very embarrassed by it, like as a kid, like for a very long time. Like I felt like I could hear melodies and stuff, and I remember like singing what I guess was like a third harmony on a song that I was singing, and what when I was younger, just hearing melodies, I guess at like a deeper level, but I didn't really allow myself to even try until I got my like driver's license and I was 16 and I could like be in a car where no one would hear me ever, and I could just like have that privacy to like experiment and kind of be myself that way.
So it started off, and I'm going to touch back on the singing because I want to know the journey of like the drums. You
Yeah.
said 9 years old. So what was that journey with that? Like, what connected you to playing the drums? Was you playing soulful music as well? Like, take us down that road of like where did it start for you
Yeah.
musically?
So for some reason when I was 9, there was a song on the radio by Jewel
Mm-hmm.
called Standing Still. It's not a it's you know
Yeah.
it's like a pop song from I don't even know when I guess it was 98 or whatever, but for some reason the pre-chorus just had this like this drum part that's like
Yeah.
and
And
I
you was
don't know,
like,
it lit my
damn,
brain up. I
Jewel
don't
is
know.
gangster right
Jewel
now.
Jewel was just like blew my mind.
I love you, by the way.
And shouts to Jewel. And for some reason I guess my mom sort of saw that I was sort of really enjoying just sort of jamming to it just in the car, just on
Mhm.
like the car door, just kicking the car door and stuff, and she was just like, do you want to learn how to play drums? And I was like, yeah, I think I do. And yeah, I mean that's how it started.
Oh
I
wow.
I, I kind of wish it was a cooler song, but Jewel
No,
forever.
That's
no,
great
that
though.
I mean that planted the seed. You know what I'm
Yes.
Yeah,
saying? And
It
yeah,
then
sounds
no,
like you had the
definitely.
gift already with music. Like did your parents did you hear like soul music as a kid and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. My parents both love music, and so I grew up in a house where they were constantly playing like it was a lot of like classic rock stuff, but a
Mhm.
lot of soul music, a lot of Smokey Robinson, a lot
Mm.
of some Frankie Valli stuff, Michael
Mm.
Jackson, like Baby Mike, like Jackson 5
Yeah.
stuff, especially. Um yeah, like that kind of stuff, but when I like started to discover music on my own, not just sort of what was provided for me, it was hip hop. It was
Mm,
like it
Oh.
was super hip hop from I don't know, like starting around like 11.
okay.
I heard I heard like Rakim,
Oh,
and
nice.
that changed my life. It was like a post, I think it was a post Eric B cut called "It's Been a Long Time"
Mm.
that
Mm.
has an Al Green sample actually of
Jewel
"Call
produced
Me."
that, by the way.
Jewel- Jules back there pulling the strings. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
Oh,
from
nice.
then on
Yeah.
it was hip hop.
So it was hip hop. So I could imagine
Wow.
that it was the
Cause
as you
the
was getting
beat.
into hip hop, but not only the drumming, but the samples, because they use a
Mhm.
lot of samples with the soulful stuff. And I know
That's exactly right. Yeah.
myself, like digging in the crates, I love listening to all types of samples and old school music, and that's how I would go back and be like, well, who did this and who sampled this? Where's the original song from? So was that a connection for
Yep.
you too, to like to go back not only from the drumming and the rap, but like, man, who? I want to hear the full version of this song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I
Mm,
was like, I got obsessed, with the music that was being made at the time, and at the time, it was in this sweet spot of sampling.
mm,
Um, a lot of jazz samples, but yeah, you know, a lot of soul samples as well. And like whenever then in my listening, you know, I'd go looking for them, but it
Yeah,
was, you know, kind of pretty early. A little bit of that was pre-internet, really,
yeah,
in my life, in my house. So when I would hear something, I'd hear like Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, you know,
yeah,
on the radio, and I'd be like, "Whoa!" It's like, you know, it's like a secret message, you know. It's like
yeah.
I don't know. I think about it like it gives me the same feeling as like I saw that really serious like solar eclipse that happened a couple years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And we
and you
all had
know
to get like
everything.
glasses and stuff, I think.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, I don't know, like the
Exactly where
birds,
it
the
was.
yeah, like you know, everything got real still and quiet. The birds got quiet. That's kind of how I feel. How I
mm,
still feel when I like
Oh,
hear
wow.
an original sample somewhere. You just kind of
mm.
like I don't know. It's just like cosmic message or something. It's cool.
No, I can relate because that's how I felt when my uncle would take me to like to visit other family members. And like I grew up in Brooklyn in the projects, and he was one of the people that would take me out of the projects, like let's go somewhere else out of this. But he would put the old school music on it, and then that's how I got into like Led Zeppelin and all that stuff. And I knew that feeling of like, oh man, who is this? What, this is
Hmm.
amazing. And then
Mhm.
like the Temptations and the Spinners and all that stuff, it was that exact moment like, well, I want to know more. I was around the LimeWire age, so then I would like illegally download all
It's
this music.
easier for you.
And then my mom would be like, how do you know all this music? And I'm like, well, your records, and then just digging like through LimeWire. Like, but
Yeah,
it's nothing you it's a feeling that you're like, you get chills like, oh man, like this is a
Yeah.
great feeling of like listening to someone that you never heard before, but is
yeah,
speaking to
yeah. And I we when we wound up with LimeWire and BearShare and
you.
Kazaa and
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
Oh,
jank
wow. I
ass
didn't even
like
know about
like
Bear Share.
jank ass like torrenting sites. That also was a big part of my exploration too, because you know I wasn't like I don't know, you're like a kid,
Yeah.
you know you can't necessarily like just go and buy whatever you want, so it was just sort of this free exploration, not just in like the
Yeah.
oldies sound, but for me a lot of hip hop too. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
finding all the like um I don't know, you find some Big L
Hmm.
freestyle on Hot
Mhm.
97, you know, that's not
Yep.
on an album, but somebody archived it
Yep.
because they believed it's worth saving, and they like just kind of threw that bottle out into the ocean. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I mean, shouts to the torrenting sites. I mean, as much
Yeah.
as it kind of made a mess of the
Napster.
music
Yo,
industry.
Napster.
it's a
That's the
bit
word.
not for nothing. It molded me. It molded my
Yeah.
sound because it was this thing of like I went searching for all this music and it was there.
Let me let me ask you a question, because
Yeah.
if you use LimeWire, do you remember there
I
was
had a whole
like
bunch of viruses too because I would download porn and all
yeah,
that shit.
yeah, you know, we wrecked the computer
Yeah.
quick. It when we downloaded stuff on LimeWire, every like pretty commonly there would be this like somebody doing a Bill Clinton impression. Did
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
unlock a
Yeah.
memory for you?
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
like
What?
it would just be like it would be like a fake file, and it
Yeah.
would actually
Oh, so
be
it's
like
probably like a
somebody doing a
virus.
Bill Clinton impression
Yeah.
That's
telling
so
you to go to
funny.
this like torrenting
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. I used to
I don't
get
know.
those too. Yeah. Nah. That's wild. You
That's
went back.
so funny.
I found that clip on YouTube a couple years ago because I was like, is that something? Am I like dreaming that?
No, it's true.
Oh,
They,
Okay.
wow.
for yeah, so like especially like when let's say if I knew albums was coming out on a Friday, that means I knew like it was getting leaked or some shit like on a
Hmm.
Thursday or something. Like my friend would hit me up like, "Yo, it's up on there," and somebody downloaded it or whatever, like uploaded it, so you could go ahead and get it. And I will remember every once in a while, even with movies too, it would like I will get that message or something with that Bill Clinton voice, like
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. It's weird, man. Just like a weird little internet. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder who
Quirk.
was
I
the
don't know.
guy that did it though. That would
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Somebody's out
And
there.
that's how
Like,
Yeah.
you got all the viruses.
Oh yeah, we
Because you
definitely
were
tons
listening
of
to
viruses.
Bill
Bill Clinton
Clinton.
viruses.
that's real. Shouts
Aaron,
to
I want to
Bill.
ask you. So, when you discovered drumming, what did that bring you that you didn't know about yourself? Like, what new discovery did you find about yourself when you got into that?
That's an interesting question. It I have like I have a like ADHD.
Mhm.
So and that was I think pretty evident pretty early on in like, you know, every report card, every like teacher feedback, that it's like, if I'm not engaged in something, if it doesn't sort of hit my brain right, it's hard for me to sort of I don't know, wrap my head around it
Same
sometimes.
here.
But when it does hit your brain right, you're like, you're world class, and I'm not just talking about me. It's like anybody with ADHD, like, they'll tell you like there's this like concept of like hyper focus, where
Yeah.
like, you really zone in, and when you actually zone in, you zone in harder than most people. And so drums, I don't know, gave me uh an entrance, like a sort of outlet for hyper focusing into music. And it felt good, because I wasn't like, I did all right, but I was not the number one student.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it
Nice.
gave me.
And it's funny that you said that, because you can tell when we watch you play, like you're so focused and in the zone. Like it's like you're in another world when you play, and like you could, like it's kind of like when we watch you, like I could almost feel what you're feeling. It's
Hmm.
beautiful to watch, right?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and then I'll point a note to that, because I remember reading an Instagram post that I don't know if you mentioned it, someone else mentioned it, that like you in the beginning you used to like pound the shit out of the drum set when you guys would play, and then you had to learn how to, like, in a sense, tone it down,
Mm.
and but still give the same feeling and force into it, but another way.
Hmm.
And I wanted to know that, because I feel like when I play guitar, it's very similar. Like I'm very rugged and raw with it and rough, and still learning how to like balance that with the perfect mix, and like still give what I give to it. So how was that transition for you?
Mm.
Or like when did you notice that, like, not tone it down, but like I can still do the same thing,
Hmm.
what I'm giving, in a different way?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean,
Yo, we
first of
gonna
all,
hit you with the questions today,
Yeah.
bro.
Get ready.
first of all, I just, I want to make a caveat and say that, anyone, like, there is so much beauty and power in rawness, that if you went your whole guitar career and never refined, and you were you, and that was your outlet for expressing your pure raw emotions, like,
Mhm.
that's still cool, and that's still just
Yeah.
as artistically valid as James Gatson
Definitely.
being the smoothest dude ever on the 16th notes. Like, those are both cool. Meg White is one of my favorite drummers, and she's like, I
She
feel
got a lot
like
of shit
the
for,
face of,
yeah.
yeah, she did, and
Yeah,
and
and
but
I
she
loved her.
paints with primary colors,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's a brilliant drummer. I love her approach to drumming. So anyway, I totally would try to put a hole in the snare drum every night, like when we were playing the shows. But and that's because, like, we when got into a band with the original Indications, when we started our band, before we met Durand, we were playing rock and roll, and it was like, that's what it was for us, was just a
Ah,
total outlet for just like fun, and just like, you're sitting in classes all week, now it's the weekend, let's hit a house
mhm,
party and just like blast out a
nice.
basement show. Um and that's why I think, on the first album, you can hear like it's pretty blown out and
Yeah.
and raw, but after like after a few years of hard touring, man, it takes a toll on your
Mhm,
body. you know it's a grind, mentally,
mhm,
physically, emotionally, spiritually. Touring is a thresher. um but yeah, it was just like, after
nice.
years of just pounding, like, of equating passion
Right.
with volume, it was also a fun challenge to be like, okay, how can I channel this emotion that I feel, that you picked up on? When
Mhm,
when you watch me play, I'm feeling the songs, I'm feeling
Yeah.
the lyrical content. So it's like, how to like control that, and like,
right.
as like, have it just like, I don't know, like, come out like a,
Subtle.
I don't, yeah, like,
Yeah.
like a laser, instead of like
Yeah.
a
Mm.
dam breaking or
Yeah,
something.
I feel like how I connect it to like maybe boxing. Like everyone, like one of the best punches, if you could perfect it, is the jab. Like no matter how many times, like that simple punch that maybe like people just don't, but only true boxers know that, like if you have a powerful jab, that little flick that you're doing is very powerful. It may not seem that it is something, but that's how I would connect it, like how you play, what you wanted to fix and stuff, like cleaning it up a little bit but still giving the same intent, and also being aware of just like we got like 40 other shows so like lined up. So I
Yeah,
don't
no,
want to throw
no,
out my neck and back.
exactly. I mean, yeah, I mean, and the haymaker is always there. I
Right.
can throw it. I'm just choosing my spots now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How did you? Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
How did you get involved in now being part of a group? Like, how did that start?
That was so I didn't grow up around a lot of musicians and or
Okay.
even
Where did you
many
grow up, by the
people
way?
in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My parents love music. My dad especially was like I call it like he's a deep listener, to music. Like he would put on songs and be like, and pause it and be like, like, did you hear? Like, listen to how the intro, and then would start it over and be like, listen to that. So that totally like affected me artistically, but by and large, I didn't grow up with like people who were musically inclined. So when I got to Indiana, I moved out there for school for college, and I was studying audio engineering, which is a 15-person program. It's very small, 15
Oh,
kids per year. And so all of a sudden, I was with like all these people who were deep listening their whole lives too.
nice.
They loved getting into the weeds too, and so we became very fast friends. Everybody in my class, but I particularly hit it off with Blake, Kyle, and Justin, who were all the original Indications with me. But again, at that time, we didn't go by the Indications. We went by the name Charlie Patton's War. We played rock and roll, and yeah, it was just rowdy as shit, like rock and roll. I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then how did Durand get in the mix?
Yeah.
And then how did you guys, and I guess in a sense, not change, but focus your sound now on soul, and why, and that genre?
And why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like when I toward maybe like the middle of high school, I heard the Roots for the first time. I heard "Do You Want More," and it just like blew my mind. I was like, "That's what I want to do." Like it felt like it was everything that I
Yeah.
loved, all in one. So I was convinced that when I got to college, I was gonna join a hip hop band.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and I found I not like when I
So
was
you
moving
could
out of my
rap
old.
too, bro?
Yeah,
Or
I was gonna ask.
you better add rapping
You
to the
got
list
to
too.
I'm not. I'm gonna leave that to the professionals, but but I did find like handwritten flyers when I was moving out of my old apartment that I had never posted from Indiana that were like, if you are like an MC or a DJ or like whatever, like here's my MySpace page with like my hip hop beats that I had made on
Oh,
Nice.
Fruity
okay.
Loops, like and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I met Blake Ryan, the guitar player, and he was into hip hop too. We bonded over like Jay Dilla, and that kind of like sample based stuff. So even though we were playing rock and roll for those couple years, like all the while Blake and I were also vibing out on hip hop and then the samples, the source material.
Yeah.
So we had been kind of drifting that way for a while and just talking about how it would be fun to, you know, fun to mess around in that style. And then we heard Daptone. Um,
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had heard the Budos band when I was in high school, and I think Blake had heard Sharon Jones.
Yeah.
But at some point, we both heard, excuse me, "The World Is Going Up in Flames" by Charles Bradley.
Oh.
That's my man. That's my man.
Yeah, and I was just like, "What is this?
Wow.
Like, when is this?" Like, because I
Yeah.
was like, "It's so if you listen to some soul music, you can hear like these decisions that were made that were like unmistakably hip hop. It really like as a hip hop head, for most of my life, it was just like hearing that and being like, it sounds informed by hip hop,
Mhm.
but also like so like so true, so I don't know, so authentically,
Yeah.
so authentic sounding,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just sort of it kind of blew my
Mhm.
mind, I was just like, this is amazing. So when we heard that, we were just like, yeah, let's try to do something like that, because it's
Mhm.
sort of, it combined all the things that we were loving at the time.
All right. So how did you meet Durand and then build that connection and then kind of like form this band to be like, well, you're the lead singer and like, let's create music?
Got it. Yeah. So Blake had met Durand at and I'm sure he told you this story on the podcast, but Blake met Durand through a student ensemble class, where
Yeah.
it's like a performance class,
He was playing
uh
the sax.
learning about soul music, and then actually having a performance aspect, which is very rare in, like, anywhere. So anyway, so yeah, Durand was the horn coach,
Mm.
but they were short on singers, so
Mm.
he stepped in and sang, and Blake was running sound and was like, uh, damn, you got a great voice. Like,
Mhm.
why don't you come back and kick it? I got this friend I make music with. And so, yeah, he called me and was like, yo, I got this dude, like, who's going to go in the studio. Like, do you have time? And I was like, like, yes, like, soul music, like, we're actually going to do it. I ran down in, like, my
Nice.
pajamas. I, like,
That's
ran,
awesome.
ran over to the studio, just my sweatpants, and uh we wrote Giving Up.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened.
Nice.
Nice.
How now? Uh
You,
when did you start? Now when that all of
your
a, out of a
voice
sudden now, like, did they hear you in the car singing? I'm like, whoa,
or
hold
the
up. You
bathroom.
or the bathroom, they're like,
The
yeah,
bathroom's the
son,
best place.
you gotta record that.
um you know I was doing a little bit of singing once in our rock and roll band,
Mm.
um kind of like shouting. It
Yeah.
was like kind of, um but yeah, I wasn't intending to sing with the Indications. I had been doing a thing where I would, like, stay in on Friday nights and try to, like, write a song just in an
Yeah.
evening.
Mhm.
Um and so yeah, one of those nights I recorded a demo of a song called Isn't Any Wonder, and I sang it in, like, my chest voice,
Yeah.
and I listened back and I was like, this sucks. I was like,
Oh,
I
sweet.
was like, this is not good. But I was like, but who could do this justice? Durand could do this justice, because he can
Right.
sing the phone book. So, I recut the demo with Blake, and just to give Durand an idea of what the vocals should sound like, we recut the scratch vocals with me
Mhm.
on lead, and I was feeling particularly relaxed at
Yeah.
that moment, and was just, like, laying on the couch, and all I could really do at that time was just, kind of sing really soft and quiet.
Yeah.
um so yeah, that was
Wow.
the first time I tried singing
Wow.
falsetto. Was on, we listened back and we're like, hey, that sounds really nice. And so that's the audio that that went on the record.
Yeah.
That's the studio version. Isn't Any Wonder is my scratch
Mhm.
vocals that were
Nice.
intended for Durand.
What?
Yeah.
One, I love that song.
Yeah, my
That's
daughter too.
Thank
Our
daughter
you.
loves,
daughter, not
yeah.
my our daughter.
It
She
depends if
loves.
she's acting up or not. If she's
Yeah,
acting
yeah,
up, that's
yeah.
his. Then it's his
That's
daughter.
very
She's
true.
one and a
That's
half,
very
and she
true.
just stands there like
Yeah, she has this crush on you. Like
she does.
whenever you show
And
up,
she's a baby.
yeah, she's like, whoa, what is that?
There's
She's like,
something about babies like falsetto, man. They
Yeah.
do.
they
There's something
do.
about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead now. What you gonna say?
No, I just get a lot of I get tagged in a lot
Noticed
of
that.
videos
Yeah.
of, like, of kids,
Yeah.
enjoying the song. It makes me really happy, man, because I know that this is a sound, that is, it's like an heirloom. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It gets passed down from like our parents,
Mhm.
like, to us, and, like, now to see people kind of our age sort of passing it down to the
Mhm.
next generation, and I don't know, like, it's weird to think about, like, in some years, like, some of those kids then being like, yeah, there was, like, this song, like, is it any wonder? I don't know. It was like I loved it.
And it was just you on the couch figuring it out. And you're like, oh, let me go falsetto, and bam.
You're gonna be the jewel to many people in
Yeah.
the future. But I'm not saying that her music is bad. But
I'll take that.
Yeah, like you're the jewel for many future artists.
Yeah,
Like they're
like
gonna
what
hear
Joel
like
did for
kids
you.
like, yo, like who is this? Like this is dope. And they're gonna stop it and like, did you hear this part? Did you hear this part? Like, yeah, that's awesome.
Man. I mean, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So from there.
Oh wait.
Oh.
No, I want to ask, how were you able to now sing that song? But now you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it live, because now how were you able to overcome some of your insecurities of like owning up to being a singer? And, and I know that took some time, eventually to where you up to now. But now they're like, hey, we gotta sing this live. So what was some challenges you had to overcome to be like, let me give it my all?
So this may sound strange, but I actually had like more trouble singing in my chest voice publicly than falsetto. And I think it's because, there's cognitive dissonance. When you hear your own voice and you don't hear it coming from like resonating inside your skull, you're hearing it back to you. It sounds different. And it gives you that sort of difference gives you the nails on the chalkboard. Like, do I really sound like that? Like people are really like putting up with me when my voice sounds like that. But for some reason, I think that falsetto, and even as the name implies, has enough remove from your natural singing voice that I was able to like kind of step around my self-consciousness and just hear it as an instrument rather than like trying to like think about it as like, I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's my voice. So it was actually, I felt much more comfortable singing publicly once I was singing falsetto.
How was how did you accept the reaction from the ladies?
Yeah, the first time.
Every time I see
you did that, like what was that like?
Not the first time. Every time I heard it live, I hear ladies go, ooh!
But the first time, do you know that first experience?
I mean, that first show that we played, which was before the record was out. We had just finished recording the record. And we were just sort of like, we had never intended for this to be a career. It was just like, this was a moment in time, and we were making music with our friends because we loved it. And we finished the record, and we might even get it pressed, and that's amazing. So we're like, okay, before we all split up, we should play a show, on these songs. And yeah, that first show was so fun because it's like no one knew the song. Nobody had heard the songs. So every twist and turn, every stop, every flourish was a shock, was novelty, just pure novelty.
It was like that moment that you experienced listening to songs for the first time that you gave to others.
Exactly. And it was a whole set of that. So the screams, like every time we hit a stop or whatever, it's just like, we've played a lot of amazing shows to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but yeah, I mean, that first one in the Bishop in Bloomington to 200 people was like, was really special. And at that time, everyone in Bloomington who was there because they sort of knew either the rock and roll band or knew me, they only knew me as like a chess singer, and at that time, like, I was very influenced by Dan Auerbach as a singer. But yeah, hitting the falsetto for the first time and having people just be like, "What the fuck,"
Yeah, because you don't.
Who's this? Where did this come from?
Yeah, you don't expect it.
What?
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And that happened. That was probably like 2 years of touring, of where like it was still people going like, wait, and then like, cause from the stage you can actually see more than I think people think that performers can see. You can see a lot, you know what I'm saying? You can see if you want to.
Yeah.
Like some nights I just sort of look over, the crowd, but some nights I'm just like watching people, and you can tell if they're into it, if they're bored, or they drop their drink or something. Like you can see that. So it is really funny to like, you can see people like be like, hold up, what is happening? and then turn and be like, yo, that's the drummer. Like, you can see that happening. And that's a good feeling.
What does this mean to you, this band, and what you guys were able to accomplish? Because I know when I asked Durand, you know, when he spoke about it, he was like, that it was this childhood dream. Like when he looks back, and he looks at these big shows that he's done with you guys, he still sees that little kid from the past that now he made proud. And like, that kid is smiling, he's smiling. And it was such a moment that at times I can relate to, but it was just great to see him express that. So you thinking back now and just reflecting on everything, all the shows and stuff like that, like what does that mean to you? And does that hold a special place in your heart to, like, you know what, I didn't know that this was possible, but we made it happen.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, this has been it has been a dream of mine, since I was really little. And for at a certain point, you know, I think I sort of told myself that, like, I could be close to it. I could be around it. I could learn audio engineering to get as close to music as possible, but realistically, I was just like, I wasn't sure if it would be a thing. But
Right.
When I got to college and I met, um, you know, when I met Blake, when I met Durand, we started doing it. Like, there was, excuse me, a change, that occurred that was just like, no, actually, like, this is what I love to do. This is when I feel most myself, when I feel like I'm doing the most, I don't know, like, good or something.
Like a purpose.
And sort of, yeah, a purpose. And I don't know, it sort of like helped me re-access that dream and sort of like be bold and like be brave and be like, fuck it, I'm moving to New York. I understand if nobody else wants to like do the music stuff, but when I left Bloomington, I was like, I'm going to New York and I'm gonna like make it work. I'm gonna find something. And so yeah, I mean, I was so glad when the Indications, the record kind of took root organically, and we were able to all get together and be like, no, this is actually the thing we want to do. Yeah, I don't. Maybe that's convoluted. I don't know.
No, that explains a lot.
When you said you're gonna go to New York, like, what was your purpose? What was your goal when you came here to New York? Like, what was it that you wanted to do?
Music.
No, yeah. I know. Besides music, but what I mean is, you're on right. Let me segue to my next question, is because now you have a record, a solo record. So was that in your plans, or was
no? I mean,
considering the Indications and not go solo, do like one record by yourself? Like, what was?
So like, kind of towards the end of college, I also wanted to teach. That's another, like, passion of mine, and it's something I still want to do, is like teach the history of music, like history of like soul music and how it relates to hip hop and rock and roll and blues, and just all of American music is so interconnected. And my favorite courses in college were like the professor just being so excited about the band. It didn't even matter what a band I didn't even like that much, like I don't know, like the Kinks or something, or like the Hollies, and like the professor just loving it so much that I'm like, yes, like, this is awesome, and so, I want to just help other people get excited about music in the same way. So I almost like went to grad school, like, but I was like, I don't know, I was like, I should take some time and get some real experience first. I was sort of working night times. I was playing like 25 to 30 shows a month so that I could come in and, like, in the daytime and try to get some like industry experience. And then, yeah, I mean, at that point, after I left the music licensing company, I was like, I need, I need things like healthcare or whatever. So
Yeah.
I took another part-time job, and that had and I was like touring, by that time. So I took a part-time job that had like unlimited time off, and that offered like healthcare to part-time employees because it got
That's
purchased by
great.
Oh
Walmart.
wow.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was very lucky. It was very lucky. And I mean, that was also a lucky break too, working for that part-time job. It was a clothing company. I was doing customer service. Um, but yeah, they I they said it was unlimited time off, like unpaid, but I took advantage of it, and I would be gone
Yeah.
for months at a time on tour and then come
mm,
back to this job until the touring popped off to the point where I was like, okay, last January, I was like, it's working. I can,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, get my own healthcare and not have to worry about the
exactly.
job and make it work. So
Nice.
anyway, I know that's a rambling answer, but I guess maybe like, a more concise way to put it is just like, for me, is like, don't be afraid of failure, but like also, like take your time. Like
Yeah.
this stuff takes time. And also, like, not every artistic pursuit is for mass consumption.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's the other thing that a lot of people don't sort of know or accept, is like, if you're making a very specific thing, then it's going to reach a specific like segment of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not failure.
Exactly.
That's like, that is like, you are reaching your audience.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I also think that so much of it is just make the music that's authentic to you, and then what will be for you is like gonna be for you if you put in the time and the perseverance. Like, yeah.
Nice.
Well said.
No, that was
That was
great.
beautiful.
I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now I know we've been talking for a
I
minute,
know.
but I did want to cover this.
Yeah, my schedule's wide open, by the way. I have a show in
Oh,
March, so
oh. All right, sounds great.
Stay here for months.
um, the single "Bad Bad News."
Yes.
This is I guess your first single coming out as an solo artist, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Other than the Flying Stars of
right,
Brooklyn,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
gospel, it's the first single under my own name. Yeah.
right. So what was I'm not gonna say the motivation, but how did this song come alive? How did you create it? And then what was the meaning behind it? Because I know it was one of those things where it'll speak to you to many different ways, but what was it? What did it mean to you?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a very like New York song, to me. Like, I tried to just, I don't know, like, capture a sound of what it feels like to me to be in New York and be on the subway, and like, and just be in that energy. The song, like, the original the inspiration is climate change. And it's a issue that I think about a lot. But at a certain point, when I think about it too much, it's like you're staring into the void, and it's just like you gotta like look away,
Yeah.
Yep.
because day to day, the things that we can accomplish uh, to combat climate change are obviously like microscopic, right? So the problem gets so big that sometimes I just gotta look away from it. And it's similarly, it's something I see on the subway a lot. Like, when people get on asking for help, asking for assistance, what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
are you in Brooklyn right now?
No, we're in
Yeah,
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Oh, you're
So we
Manhattan.
got
Okay, so yeah, but it's like,
yeah,
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you get on, you sit down. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
All my
they,
life.
and people give them $1. People give them some food if they got it. They get off the train. Next stop, somebody else comes on. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see with every person on a ride that comes on, the people on the train start to tune out and tune out, and they put their headphones on and they turn the
Mhm.
volume up, and they act like they don't see them,
Mhm.
because it's a challenge for humans to like take in the full scale of the like suffering and
Yeah.
the pain that people are going through on a mass scale. And so it's people's natural defense mechanism to look away from it and just act like they can't see it. So those were kind of like the inspirations for Bad News. You know, it's supposed to be almost read from the perspective of Mother Earth speaking.
That's beautiful.
You know, when it says, you know, when it's like, I'm on fire, I'm burning, I can barely keep it turning. It's like that's the thing, you know, and the signs are there. We are being told what the problem is.
Yeah.
And we know that some ways people have ideas of how to fix it, but we can't just look away.
Yeah. It's very similar to Charles Bradley, The World Going Up in Flames. And nobody wants, like,
that's right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you know, and no one wants to take the blame. You know, is it you? Is it me? You know?
Right.
And then,
Or
but
is
your
it all of us?
perspective, he's like talking it from the in the way of like humanity, all letting us know. And like you said, your twist for you is like your perspective is like Mother Nature perspective, talking and
That's
what she's
beautiful.
seeing and stuff like that. You know, I'm burning and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, and I, you know, after you explaining that,
Wow,
I
me
was like,
too.
I didn't
I didn't
see
it
it
that
that way.
way.
Like I got it like differently.
I
But I
got
think
it.
that's
I got it with the times, like what's going on now.
So
which
right, so
which
that
can be,
yeah,
but it's
that,
deeper. It's much
yeah,
right.
deeper.
that was the interesting thing is, like, you know, I wrote that last November,
Oh
and
wow.
and then with, like, you know, every passing month I was just like, this is just like, you know, it just became more and more timely, you know,
Yeah.
to the
Definitely.
point where it was like, so wait, when is this interview, sorry, when is the interview going up?
Uh,
Yours is going October 28th.
Okay, cool. So like, so on Thursday, you know, we're gonna announce the next single and the whole record. So I have a whole
nice.
solo
Nice.
record.
Nice.
Woo!
Awesome.
So
Yes.
so Bad News was not even supposed to be a single, but as it got closer and closer, I felt more of a responsibility to, like, to put this song forward and, like, you know, just kind of meet the moment where it's at, especially, you know, taking up space in a conversation uh as a white artist. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it just sort of just trying to think, just like, just be thoughtful, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, with that stuff. And like, yeah, so anyway, so Bad News was felt like a kind of the natural choice to, like, not just ignore a thing, you know, what is happening in the
Yeah.
world. But again, it's like, you know, I feel like part of the reason it maps so well to this moment is sort of like the unfortunate reality that, like, these problems are not new ones.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You know, these are the same issues that have been happening and plaguing this country for decades, for centuries, right? And so, you know, it's the same sort of grim, um I don't know, feat of, like, Marvin Gaye's songs still applying so wholly, or Curtis Mayfield songs, or Gil Scott Heron songs, and on of just sort of like, why are these songs still so
Still relevant.
relevant?
Yep.
It's amazing that they wrote these songs that could still be relevant, but it's sort of this bittersweet thing that's
Yeah.
like, you know, you hope for a day when you can point to what's going on and be like, that was a relic. That's a relic now. We can. That's a view to the past rather
Yep.
than a sort of lens that you can just put right on our future.
Did you feel any pressure recording that second album for the Indications after the first one was so great, and then hearing the second album, I really felt, you know, that you guys put together a beautiful second sophomore album, right? Did you feel any pressure putting that together? And then did you feel any pressure now coming out as a solo artist, put brand new music now, not on your own because you have your friends, but you're the face of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, so was there any pressure for the two projects in a sense? And if there were, how were you able to not let it get to your head and fuck up the creation and focus on the fun and the passion for it?
Yeah. I definitely felt pressure. I think we all did with the second record. because this thing that we did totally for fun, all of a sudden, you know, you're getting like interviews, and we went to Europe, and like, it becomes this like anticipated thing. There's also, there's a saying that's like, you have your lifetime to make your first record, and you have 12 months to make your second record.
Interpol said that. The guy from Interpol.
That I've never known the source for that quote.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
I remember there was Interpol, this band. They from New York. I read this when I was in high school. I was a big fan of their album Bright Lights, something like that. And then they was talking about now they're making their second album, and the guy mentioned that it's like, yeah, you have your whole life to make the first one because no one's expecting anything, blah blah blah. And then once the second one, all eyes on you, is like, okay, you have only 6 months. So
right. Yeah. So, and there's obviously, there's a lot of there's a lot of lore sort of surrounding the sophomore slump.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was sort of like we were so, like, the first Indications LP was so much the sound of us just starting our sort of journey of learning how to record soul music, how to write in that style, that like there's so much room to grow on the second record. And especially because we kept the arrangements so bare bones, that it felt like we had a lot of tools at our disposal to grow and to show like a progression. And also it was just sort of like, yeah, again, it was just, I don't know, that was still album 2, I think, was still the sound of like, man, we were just starting to wrap our heads around like sweet soul stuff. Like album 1, I think about it like a bat, like how a bat flies in the dark, and you just sort of ping, and we got like a few different pings back, and like the ping that we got back from the like slow stuff from Can't Keep My Cool and from Is It Any Wonder lit up this world of like lowrider soul, like sweet soul, Chicano soul, like all that stuff to continue learning about and delving into. So yeah, there was pressure, but I think like I think we were able to meet it. I feel really proud of that record. To me, it felt more like there was pressure to like use the platform and write a couple songs that were dealing with what was happening. So like Morning in America is the lead track, which I wrote, and it was I guess it was, I don't know if that was before Trump's election. It was right around there. Yeah. I think it was before Trump's election. And Sea Gets Hotter was another one. It's like
I can't believe that song wasn't going to be on the album. Sea Gets Hotter. I'm like, that's my joint. Like
the thing is, like,
I was like, how did you? Who voted that?
Voted?
Like, let's not. Well, it was hot.
So I thought that Cruising to the Park would have made more sense there, but then Durand and Blake were like, no, like, let's save that. We'll save that for a standalone single. But it worked out great. It worked out great the way it was. But in terms of the solo record, I do feel, it's weird. It's like day to day. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, this is the first music that's attached to my name. So, you have just this like, it's a little closer to the bone. You know what I'm saying? Where there it's like, oh, if they don't like the music, they don't like Aaron Frazer. It's different than like they don't like the Flying Stars of Brooklyn. They're like, who is that? But at the same time, I sort of, I don't know. I felt something of like a calm with this solo record.
What did you learn about yourself, like doing this solo record? Was there something that, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I feel like it just popped in my head. It leads to that. Like, what did you learn about this whole process, creating something that's yours? Because when you look back, man, you came a long way from the drummer, from just singing,
not
to
knowing
performing,
you're gonna sing.
like, and now if you just look at it, you have an album now with your name on it, and you're in the front of it. One, I'm proud of you for doing it, and that's awesome, man.
Thank you so much.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
What
did you write all the songs too on this album?
Yeah, I co-wrote all the songs with
Oh,
Yeah.
with Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys.
oh,
He
okay.
produced the whole
So,
thing.
man, that's dope. Black Keys, name drop. I love that
Oh,
band.
Yeah. Oh, here you drop this.
nice.
But you
Oh.
know, what did you learn about yourself during this whole process of creating your own album?
So, a couple things I would say. You know, I called my dad the evening after like our first day in the studio, and you know, Dan brings in these session players and brings in like we'll also bring in one co-writer per like day of writing that kind of like is tailored to like my musical love. So like, you know, so he brought in this dude who like, you know, I sing falsetto, I got this kind of like 50s like aesthetic. The first dude he brought in wrote hits for Frankie Valli.
Nice.
You know, and or sort of like going into the studio and having all these musicians be like, you know, this keyboard player named Bobby Wood, he played, you know, he played like on like You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, or like, you know, or like this dude played on Son of a Preacher Man, like
Wow.
foundational
Yeah.
records. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that to say that like,
Well,
you
the
know,
supportive group that you had around you, and
Definitely.
seasoned
And
players.
that's the
yeah,
most,
those were seasoned. Yeah, those were the seasoned players. And I called my dad, you know, and I was like, you know, I got in there today, surrounded by all these people, and I didn't worry about like if I was good enough for if I
nice.
belonged, you know,
That's
and
nice.
that's like I'm getting I'm getting fucking emotional, man.
That's great, man. It's awesome.
Yay.
It's like you know, that's a result of shit.
Nah, it's fine,
Oh,
man.
this
I
is
relate.
great.
This is
Yeah,
great.
it's beautiful.
It's it's a result of like, you know, like God damn it.
Take your time. Take
It's it's a result of all the people who you know, who helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, man.
Yeah,
That's until March. Don't
yeah.
worry.
You know, it's a result of you know, all the people who you know, supported me.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you
man,
seeing it with your own eyes, how
Yeah.
another version of your dream coming true, and like you said, like you didn't question like, do I deserve this?
Yeah.
It was like, I'm in the right place. I earned it.
yeah, I
I
could just be
bust.
present. You know, I could be present.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing
That's beautiful.
feeling, and I have so many people in my life to thank for that, you know.
Yeah.
That's
No, that's, and
beautiful.
you're very humbled and
Yeah.
thankful for it, man. It shows.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that
And
too.
thank you for sharing that, man, and being
Mhm.
very like open and vulnerable for that. Because
Mhm.
to like, you know, me, when I always created like one man shows and I would perform them, I used to always tell people like, you see me up there alone, but there's a whole bunch of people in the background that help me to be where I'm at right now. So I'm on the stage alone, but I'm not. It's just
That's
like
right, man. That's exactly right. When I go on stage, I carry like I carry everybody, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you carry like everybody who helped
Everybody
you
who's helped you.
Yeah.
get
That's
to that
great.
point, you know.
Mhm.
You're so
Yeah,
appreciative. And
Mhm.
yeah.
like, and doing that, you're in that moment, man, and like, it's great, and it took you places. This thing has took you places that you never
Everywhere.
thought it was possible. You thought it was
Yeah.
possible, but it came true. And
Yeah.
then you just, and I get it. You just think about every little thing from the time that you was young, like your mom
Yeah.
carrying the
Yeah, the drum.
drums,
Oh well,
Yeah.
setting
hearing
it up.
you
Yeah,
when she heard you in the car.
you know,
When she said, "Wait,
Jewel.
you
When
want to
you
play the
listen to
drum?"
Jewel, you think about Jewel. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, absolutely,
Your
absolutely.
dad, all these
Yeah,
things.
that's awesome, man. Yo, we're
That's
almost
something.
we're that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna now. That's a perfect moment to segue to like the last
To
couple
the
questions that
last
we have for
Yeah.
you.
segment.
I know you're free till March, but you don't want to. We don't want to take all your time.
Yeah.
This could become like a really high concept piece where we're
Yeah,
just like on the podcast
yeah.
for the
Yo,
next like
it's
couple
not too
months.
late. This could be at the ending of your album. You could put this whole audio.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last segment, I'm
yeah.
sorry. So the last segment is just two questions, And the first question is
Wait, it's called Let's Look
oh, it's
Inside.
called sorry. It's called Let's Look Inside. So it's diving into yourself, as this whole interview is about. So
Uh-huh.
the first question is, what do you love about yourself?
I think that I'm adaptable. You know, you can kind of like throw me in a new town, and I'll like find my people. I'll like build my community from nothing.
Nice. And the second question is, if the average lifespan was 40 years old, how would you live your life differently? Whatever comes to mind.
I mean, you know, I'm doing what I love to do. I probably have a few more milkshakes.
Nice.
What flavor?
You know, it depends on the day.
On the mood?
Honestly,
Okay.
there's like you know, I do love a strawberry milkshake.
Nice. Good choice.
Milk Bar, the birthday cake. You know Milk Bar.
Yeah.
It's like a Brooklyn. They got a couple locations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I heard of it. Never had it.
They
though,
do. They do like a birthday cake milkshake. That's
sounds
like
good.
yeah, serious.
Nice.
Anyway,
Okay.
I mean, I like the egg. I will say New York, on some real New York shit, I love egg creams, and I feel like you
Oh,
go
okay.
in other places in the country and they don't know about egg creams, but or maybe it's just a Jewish thing. But yeah.
Or bacon, egg, and cheese milkshake. That's a Brooklyn thing.
Oh my god.
And this last one is just reflection cards, and like we're gonna shuffle them, and she's gonna pick one, and whatever those two questions there, whatever comes to mind, and yeah, boom.
All right. First question: what is your proudest accomplishment?
Oh, nice. It's okay if another tear comes out.
No, I'm all right. I got it now. I think it's honestly making a career out of something I did for fun.
Nice.
And the last question is, what mistake have you learned the most from?
Oh, so many. What do you choose? Man, that's a really hard one. I'd say maybe just over the years of dating. Maybe.
Okay.
It's just, you know,
Nice.
people are not mind readers. You know what I'm saying? There's you have to say how you feel. You have to articulate what you want, what you expect, what you need. You know, and work on that. And I think, like, you know, with the band, we've grown a lot in terms of our like emotional maturity over the years, and part of that was sort of working on it like it was a relationship, sitting down, having scheduled when we're on tour, you know, we'll do like scheduled one-on-one check-ins.
That's great.
You know, just to be like, just like how you doing, you know. And you know, maybe there's nothing, maybe it's I'm doing great, there's nothing to talk about, but it's still like
at least
a half an hour of just like checking in, you know what I'm saying? So
that's very important.
Well, you hear that, ladies? My man's learning how to communicate. Give him some time.
I'm taking it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know you. Aaron's boo. He's getting better, boo. You know what I'm saying? Aaron's.
I'll let her know.
Yeah, that's right. Take it easy on my boy Aaron. He communicating.